Gaming phones these days are generally only focused on one thing, and that is gaming. But when it comes to the Nubia Red Magic 3, it comes packed with a 48 megapixel IMX586 sensor with an aperture of f1.7 to let in a lot more light. Now this may only be one lens, and can one lens suffice, guys? Well, let's go ahead and find out. But being a gaming phone, this is one incredible lens to be paired with it. And going ahead to that selfie cam, we have a 16 megapixel front facing cam as well, with an aperture of f2.0 for those great little selfies. But once again, it is only a single cam, so we'll have limited functionality. Guys, is this gaming phone going to be doing more than just gaming? Well, let's find out. This is TechNick, and let's go. Okay, so starting out with the camera UI over here, we have a couple of options, but going into the actual camera settings menu, we can take a look at the actual resolution and aspect ratios of the camera themselves. We have 48 megapixel and 12 megapixel, which actually binds on that 48 megapixel for a better shot. 48 megapixel I actually only recommend you to use in very good lighting conditions, but they are both limited to 4:3 aspect ratios, so that's what we're going to be sticking through with the remainder of this video. So now when we go ahead and look at the different settings that we have for the selfie clips, we just have 60 megapixels, and when it comes to video recording, we have a world-breaking 8K, what it is in beta though, and it is not the best, but that 1920 slow motion, 1920 FPS slow motion, guys, I'm really excited to test that out and share this with you guys too. Now when it comes to the video department in the front-facing cam, we're limited to 1080p at 30 frames per second, but it's not terrible. Most phones are just paired with that, and there are also a couple functions that I'll be testing out throughout the video as well. Now going on to just the normal 48 megapixel stills, these are indeed snapped at 48 megapixels and not at 12 megapixels. You can see that when we do have harsh sunlight in it, it does kind of blur the shot a bit, but when we have good lighting conditions with the sun behind us, it comes out really clear and crisp, guys. I can't tell you how much detail is on here, sometimes the same if not more than the top dogs of like the P30 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, which I have been using as my daily drivers up till now. Now you can see that using outdoor situations over here, specifically with the sun behind you, it does pick up a little bit of detail more than other phones at this budget, but I have noticed a little bit of sharpness, and if it's not sharpness, it goes the other way and it becomes a little bit too soft, which makes things not look too clear. But in situations like this, you can see at the park, everything just looks absolutely spectacular. And moving on to flowers, like we have a lot of parks here in Beijing around our apartment block, and there are a ton of flowers and they're all different colors and they're really beautiful, guys. And I just thought that we could try get those different aspects of the colors coming through with the different flowers. Now we do have those different modes, but these are just 48 megapixel and some of them 12 megapixel stills, but you can see that sometimes it actually blurs the foreground and focuses on the background, and you have no control over that. Now when you're looking at a whole bunch of flowers together, those colors all are individually popping by themselves, and getting closer up, it actually takes some pleasing bokeh effect shots with actually no bokeh or lens effect there at all. Now there is a macro mode on here, though there isn't a macro lens, so it doesn't really make much of a difference at all, and I actually think it does a better job with it off, to be completely honest with you. And another thing that we do have is zoom. We don't have optical zoom, but going into 2x zoom, things still look really crisp and clear, and that's because it's taken with a 48 megapixel lens, guys. Taking a look over here at 2x zoom, it still looks pretty great, but going into 3x zoom and then 5x zoom, you can see that things start to become a bit grainy, and then going into 10x zoom, which is the max here, we can actually still see the shot. So I'm actually pretty impressed, and you can see with this little clock tower over here, 2x zoom, honestly it looks just as good as optical, but as soon as you go past that, it really takes away from the quality, guys. But that's needless to say that the quality is still there, and it honestly still looks great. And taking zooms outdoor without having a proper focal point with a lot of noise around it, that's when things start to get terrible. Taking a look at this little bridge over here, you can see that going 5 and 10 times, the shot just gets completely blown away with the sunlight over there. Taking pictures with moving objects, it actually holds it really well. There's no blur from cars or anything, and the buildings just look so sharp with that sky behind it. But once again, you can see with this shot over there that the sun kind of affects the lens a little bit. Nevertheless, you can see like with these moving cars over here, you can completely see the number plates perfectly fine. Taking pictures of still objects looks absolutely great. My wife's not riding her scooter here, she's actually just sitting on it. And when you're taking pictures of people, the portrait mode, actually there's no real portrait mode, I guess you could say, but it kind of blurs the background a little bit and it keeps things clear. And when you do use the actual portrait mode, which they do have in extra effects, sometimes it can just be blown out completely. Like if you take a look at it over here, I'm using that effect right now, and it didn't do a bad job, but in this scene over here, look how terrible that is. It just doesn't know what it's doing because it doesn't have that extra paired lens. And over here you can see that it's actually blurring the foreground instead of the background. And looking at some other shots that you see over here, going into a little bit of a darker situation, it doesn't pick up the lighting as well. And then I just wanted to throw in these artistic shots. So this is another feature over here. We have Van Gogh, Flame, we have Sea View. There's a whole bunch of different arty shots, and I actually really enjoyed them. So I thought that I'd bring you guys these buildings over here with all 6 different shots, and they look really cool. I mean, they have a different form of art. It's like I was building my own art here. And though there's no wide angle, panoramic view does a pretty good job. And then they have this other like shifting image thing, which looks pretty good. Moving on to indoor mode here, guys, you can see that it takes pretty great photos, and when you get up close and personal, it tends to blur that background as well with like a natural bokeh effect. Taking pictures of food and other shots like that, if you like that for Instagram, it does a pretty great job as well. And you can see pictures of this beer over here. It gives that nice natural effect of blurring the background. Taking a snap of me over here in this restaurant, which is a hot pot restaurant in Beijing, looks pretty good. And you can see a bit of the light noise over there, but taking a picture against the wall over here, it actually does a really good job at preserving that light and not making the shot too noisy. Now we're going a little bit into the dark over here, and things are getting a bit darker in Beijing. It's around 6 p.m. over here. You can really see that the moon is out there, and it is getting a bit darker, so I thought, why not zoom into the moon 10 times? I know this is not the crazy 60 times zoom that you have on the Oppo Reno 10X edition, but I mean, it doesn't look terrible. You can still see the moon. Maybe it looks like a pastel drawing, whatever. When it comes to night mode, things are pretty pathetic, guys. There's absolutely, well, there is kind of a night mode on here, but it does nothing. I'll show you that in a little bit. But looking at these pictures over here, I guess you could kind of make out with what's happening, and this is with that night mode off that they do include. And with it on over here, it makes no difference at all, guys. If anything, it doesn't brighten up the shot at all, so I suggest just completely leaving that off. Like, that is my pure suggestion. But when you do get a little bit of light in there, it actually does a pretty decent job at taking pictures at night. If you take a look at these lights here, and if you tap and focus on the light, it gets all the detail within the light as well, which is really cool. You can see that this lens is not just a gimmick. Now you also have this little light twist over here, which is really cool. That's always been on Huawei and Honor phones, and they also record like a little video as well of you doing it after, so that you can look at that. Now moving on to the video department, we have 1080p at 60 frames per second, and I'm riding on scooter pretty fast here, guys. I'm going at about 30-40 kilometers an hour, and it's doing a pretty great job. Even at 4K 60 FPS, guys, things are actually really stable. If you go ahead and watch my Lenovo Z6 Pro footage on the scooter, things are a lot more bumpy. Now, 8K, guys, here's the thing. 8K is only 15 frames per second. That is it. So it is really, really bumpy. You cannot use it in things like video. And walking down these stairs over here at 1080p at 60 FPS, you can see that it's really, really stable, guys. And I actually am so damn impressed with video quality on the Red Magic 3. It is doing a superb job. And even at 4K at 60 FPS, guys, it's one thing to just have 60 FPS 4K on a phone. I mean, the Huawei P30 Pro, which costs double, even triple of this phone, doesn't even have 4K at 60 FPS. And this does a great job. But looking at that 8K, it is groundbreaking that we can get 8K, and it is downscaled to 4K for the purposes of this video. But at 15 FPS, is it even usable? I guess it is in beta mode, and maybe in a software update we'll be able to up that maybe to 30 FPS. And you can see that when we go a little bit slower here, not moving too much, it's really clear, but you can't really see that clarity unless you stop, so you may as well just take a picture, I guess. Maybe if you use a tripod, it'll look a bit better. And when you're recording in nighttime, I mean, it's pretty much the same as taking pics at night, guys. It's no better. I mean, you do get a little bit of light in there from that f1.7 aperture on the cam, and 4K 60 FPS pretty much looks exactly the same as the 1080p camera, if anything a little bit more jittery. But going on to that 8K at night, guys, you'll see here that 15 FPS. It just looks horrendous. Like, look at this. Can you even record with this? Nubia, what were you thinking? But nevertheless, I mean, they could have just put another camera in here and made better stabilization or a telephoto, but it doesn't look too bad. Now, 720p at 480 FPS slow motion, guys, it is not good quality, I have to say. But it's not terrible. It's upscaled to 4K over here. And now 1920 FPS, what you guys have been waiting for. This is groundbreaking. More than double of the highest out there at 960 FPS. It is ridiculously slow, but then again, it looks a bit jittery. Now 720p at 480 FPS over here, me jumping down these little stairs over here, you can see the quality. It's not the worst, but it's not brilliant. But the slow motion is what we're looking at here. And 1920 FPS, guys, it's quite a long video, I must say, and I actually cut it down for you guys because it was over a minute of the same footage that you just saw with the 480 FPS, and that is because it is 4 times slower than that, so it does make sense. But you can see how darn slow it is, and I must say, I'm really excited to give you guys a full rundown on FPS comparison between this, the P30 Pro with 960 FPS, and the S10 Plus with 960 FPS in a proper slow motion video recording test, with balloons getting smashed in my face, pies getting smashed in my face. My wife's really excited for it, so I'll definitely be bringing you guys that in the weeks to come, and I really am to do a proper slow motion comparison. So if you guys are keen on that, let me know in the comments down below, and also let me know what you guys are thinking of this 1920 FPS slow motion. Now, comparing it to the Galaxy S10 Plus over here, the Galaxy S10 is pretty much half that slow motion FPS. You can see it's a lot smoother because it is half, but these are both recording at 720p, and you can see a lot more detail on the Samsungs. Now, throwing this coin down in this cup over here, you can see that the indoor lighting over here, the detail is actually not too bad on the Red Magic 3, and the slow motion is really good. But as you can see, it's so much smoother on the S10 Plus, but then again, it's because it's not as slow. Now, taking selfies outside, they come out pretty good, guys, but when you use that beauty face, it just kind of completely scraps your face away. Look at that, I just look like a model over there. It gives you like that natural background bokeh as well, and taking snaps at night with the selfie cam, it's not the best, but it's also not the worst, guys. This camera is like a bit of a mixed bag. So this is the mic and 1080p test on the Nubia Red Magic 3. I'm busy recording, and this is going at 30 frames per second. I hope that the mic test is pretty decent because the video recording test actually seems really great. I'm really enjoying this phone from a gaming perspective, and I hope that the camera does do some great things as well. I mean, tell me what you guys think. And taking the selfie video at night with 1080p at 30 FPS, things are grainy once again, but I mean, if you look at the 1080p 30 FPS footage from the Lenovo Z6 Pro, I actually think this is a tad better than that. Guys, this phone has been incredible to take photos with. I must say, I've enjoyed it for gaming, and I am actually enjoying it as a camera phone as well. And until next time, guys, this is TechNick.